What's going on YouTube? It's your boy Logisticalstyles coming at you with another video, and today we're going to do a walkthrough or tutorial of the main menu on the Rane 70 mixer. The mixer has a very small LED, or I think it's an OLED display, which allows you to go into the menu and go to different parameters for the settings, for the feel of the crossfaders, the up faders, and the pads, and a lot of other options that you can really use to customize the way the mixer works for you. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to jump into it, and what actually spurred this is a replacement mixer that I got from Rane because I had an issue with a couple of things on my previous Rane 70 mixer. And I had initially, when I got the first Rane 70 mixer, I had gone through these menu settings and made some changes and adjustments for me. But now that I've got this new unit here, I want to go in and take the time to look at all the settings and figure this is a great time to do a video to show you what all these settings can do and how they can customize the feel for your mixer. So without further delay, let's go ahead and switch the camera around and we'll jump into the main menu of the Rane 70 mixer. Okay, so here we are. This is the face down view of the Rane 70, showing the majority of the controls on the mixer. There's also the crossfader and the channel faders here. We'll address those in a little bit once we get into the menu. But when you turn the mixer on, you get the light show, and it goes through this whole routine, and then it lands on this screen right here with the Rane logo and the BPM for each deck showing. So the BPM is on this screen, and it's pretty helpful because when you're mixing and you got music playing in the background, or you got music just playing, instead of having to look up at the screen on your laptop, or if you've got the Rane 12 MK2, there's a screen on there as well that shows the BPM. But it's just nice to keep your focus on the mixer, and you can see that it adjusts as you change the speed of whatever track you're playing. So that's the screen from a really basic viewpoint, but we're going to dig deeper into that. So now moving on to the main menu, let's go into the main menu of the mixer and we'll see how you can really get into the controls of it. So to access the main menu on the mixer, you have to hold the shift and the tap button, which are right between the banks of pads. Just hit the shift and tap and it will pull you into the main menu. You can use the scroll knob right here to go up and down and choose the different submenus. You can also use your joystick to tap up and down into these different menus. And when you tap into them, you can tap right and that gets you into the menu. You can tap left to get out of it, or you can tap the knob to get in and then tap that to get out. If you want to get out of the main menu, you can just hit the shift tap and that'll pull you out of there. Or if you are back in there and you want to get out of the main menu really quickly, you can just tap out and it will get you out of the main menu. So let's go back into the main menu using shift tap. And let's start from the top. So right from the top, you have your settings. If we tap into there, you get to control the settings for a couple of different parameters. You've got the audio is the first one. So when you jump into the audio settings, you get the option to choose whether the mixer is outputting in stereo or in mono. I think I actually do prefer to output in mono because I end up playing in a lot of different situations where a stereo sound is not actually necessary. I just need to get a sound out to my speakers and then use them to route the audio as necessary. So I'm glad I got in here and made that change. You can also change the, if you come down to this, the panning of the audio that's coming out of the mixer. I'm not sure why you would want to do that. Maybe if you have a really weird speaker setup or whatever in your venue, but it might be beneficial to have the control to pan your mixer. Let me go back in to be able to pan your mixer by using the scroll knob, left or right. I'm just going to keep mine dead center like that, and then use my joystick to get out of that audio setting menu. Then you can control some things on each of your decks. You have a control for your deck 1, which is here on the left. You can go in and change the sensitivity. This would be like if you were, these are controls you would use if you were using a turntable with, you know, a needle and DVS, or even if you were just playing just regular vinyl, you want to be able to handle or change the sensitivity, and that would be probably adjusted according to the environment that you're playing in. Maybe you're in a room that's got a bouncy floor or whatever and a lot of vibration, so you would be able to change the sensitivity of the phono inputs. So let's bounce out of that, and you can do the same thing for deck 2 as well. You can also adjust the filter. Some people don't like the way the filter, these knobs right here, they feel like the filter should either do one thing or behave one way or another. Well, you can go into this filter menu right here and you can change it, and you can do it per deck. So filter 1 or filter 2. Those are my dogs barking. 1 second. So yeah, on your filter you have the option to, you can control, using your joystick, you can control the resonance of the filter. Let me see if it will actually do this in real time as we play a track. So now, right now, this is just the stock settings. The resonance for this deck is set at 1. I mean, it's set at 50% for deck 1. If we change that, let's go over here and change the resonance and do some drastic change, like from 50% to 80%. Now it's a different kind of filter now. Let me bring up the volume so maybe we can capture it on the mic. And let's go back to 50% so you can just see or hear what I'm talking about. And then bring it down to like a 25%, because I think what's happening is the lower I go, the more of a washy kind of a filter it is. And I think that's what you're hearing. So 50% is like a nice happy medium, and I think that's what I'm going to keep mine at. The next one, if you come down more, the next one is deck 2, same effects or same controls. But here, for the filter, now it's set to completely cut. So when I go hard left or hard right, it just cuts everything. It filters everything out. So you can change that if you don't like that. If you don't like your filters to be 100%, you want to have a little sound still going when you got it all cranked up. What you can do is come here and you can, let's see, change it. You can adjust it. So now I got the volume up. It's really faint, but if I, let's see, let's bring up. No, it's about the same. I think, let me try one more. Okay. So the filter knob is hard left, but as I'm changing it, full cut kills everything. If I bring it up a little bit, it still leaves me with a little bit of a sound. So I'm not completely killing it. And the problem I was just having where it looked like nothing was changing is because if you notice here in the menu, you have your low pass filter, which is on your left side of the knob, and your high pass filter, which is on the right side of the knob. So the high pass filter is still set to full cut. So if I have something playing and I go hard right, it's a full cut. But now if I move my parameter, my control down there, and I change that, then I'm getting some leftover sound. Okay, then I'm getting some sound coming through. So now it's not a full kill when I go hard left or hard right. I actually prefer it to be a full cut. So I'm going to go back to the full cut on both channels, full cut. and we'll just leave it at that. So, but that is an interesting little control to know about. So if you don't like your filter knobs to be a full cut left or right, you can choose it per deck, and it's really nice. All right, so the next section we have here is the pad section, and this is a section I like because you can really do some interesting things here. So let's go in here into the pad, and you can change the sensitivity of the pads. So I had mine right now at 90%. The default is 100%, and I bumped mine back from 100 to 90% because sometimes when I'm drumming or whatever, I get close to a pad that doesn't have anything assigned to it, and then when I accidentally tap it even slightly, it assigns a cue point. So what I did was I knocked it back a little bit to 90%, and so now it gives me a little bit more freedom to drum without having to worry about, or hit different cue points without having to worry about accidentally triggering something else. And 90% for me is good. I've tried to go down really low to like a 50 or 40%, but that's really not going to work because it makes it really unresponsive. But for me, 90% really works. So the next one is the user modes. So user modes are turned on by default, and I've covered this in another video, but with the pads you can let me jump out of here. Let's get out of here. So with pads and the hot cue points, if you double tap it, you have a secondary layer. With the save loops, if you double tap it, you have different layers, loop roll. The ones that have the yellow pads, when I go into the secondary mode with a double tap, those are user modes. Those are where you can actually map those buttons to those pads to do different features in the software that may not already be mapped or preloaded. So you can make this be another set of cue points. You can make this turn on different effects. You can make it turn on loops or trigger different other things. It's just up to your imagination what you do with these yellow pad modes. And you get these user pad modes. They are yellow, but they are called the user pad mode. You get the user pad mode when you double tap transport. That's the secondary layer for that. Not for sampler, but roll, and I think that's it. Yeah, roll and transport are the ones that give you the user pad mode. So let's go back into the software, or the software menu, the mixer menu. Shift tab. Let's go back into settings. Let's come down to pad and user modes. You can turn that off. Well, come down there. You can turn off the user modes so that there is no double tap feature, or at least for those user mode pads. So you can turn off the user modes, and I think I might do that for now because I don't actually use the user modes for anything yet. I have to come up with an idea or something I might want to use it for. So I'm going to keep those turned off for now. And then you have the option for daytime mode. Right now daytime mode is turned on, but if I was to turn it off, the pads get a little bit dimmer. So this might help when you're out in a bright situation outdoors. You might have too much sun beaming down on you. Hopefully not. Hopefully you're covered when you're out playing with your equipment, but maybe you don't need it to be as bright, so you can turn your daytime mode off. I like my daytime mode on, so I'm going to keep it there. So I have the brightly colored pads, and you probably didn't even notice much of that at all because it's so bright in here. I'm looking at the camera now. I noticed that there's not that big of a difference. So yeah, you really can't tell that from here, but believe me, there is a difference when I go from daytime mode on and daytime mode off. So those are the options you have for adjusting your pads. You can turn those user pad modes off, you can control the sensitivity, and you can control the brightness of the pads. So let's back up out of that, come down to the headphone menu. If you go into the headphone menu, you can choose the tone between the highs and the lows. You can give, if you don't need as much bass in your headphones when you're mixing, you focus more on your highs and your snares and your mids, you can adjust that right here. More emphasis on the highs, more emphasis on the lows. So I'm just going to keep mine there. If we go down, there's not much else. It's just that. So let's go back out of that menu. Come down to the mic 1. There's a menu for mic 1. And we can control the echo feedback. We can control the ducking threshold. So ducking is when you're talking on the mic and the music drops down automatically for you. So that might, let's take a quick tangent right here. On your microphone, mic 1, you hold the button down once, you tap it once, it comes on. If you tap it twice, if you hold it, it flashes, and that's in ducking mode. So that means when you are talking, the music will drop, and when you stop talking, the music volume will come back up. I'd have to hook up a mic real quick to show you. Let me see if I have one available. 1 second. All right, so here we go. All right, so let's hook this mic up right here. Right now the mic's off. Mic volume is off. I've got off here and off there. Let's play a little bit of music. Let's turn our mic on. Check, 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 1, 2, 2, check, check, 1, 2. The mic is on. Now if I hold down the on button until it flashes, then that will cause the ducking. So now when I start talking into it, the volume of the music that's playing on the deck drops. And then when I stop talking, it comes back up. So in this, let me stop the music. So in this menu right here, the ducking threshold, you have the option to see how high or how low that threshold is. And the threshold is the amount of volume that, or the volume of the microphone, what volume will cause it to duck. And you have a high threshold and you have a lower threshold. We were in a medium, so if I put it on a high threshold, that means it's going to be more sensitive. So let's play. And then I start talking, check 1, 2, 1, 2. So the threshold's high and it still will keep the music going. So now let's go back to a medium threshold and let's see what happens. Check 1, 2, check 2. So now when I'm talking, the music is going down. So low threshold seems to work better than the high threshold. So maybe they just have a different idea of what the threshold should be. But I'm going to go down to a low threshold. So now whenever I have my ducking on, say you were doing like, say you were like a strip club DJ or a DJ that makes a lot of announcements but don't want to always have to bring the volume up and down, that's what that's for. So that's a good adjustment for me. If I ever want to use my ducking, I can tap once to turn it off, hold it down until it flashes to turn it back on. And if you just want to turn it off and just hit it once, you'll get regular microphone control. So that was a little sidebar, but it was necessary to show you demonstrate what the ducking threshold is all about. And now that you know what the ducking is all about, you can see that the next option is the ducking hold. It just tells you basically how long to keep the volume on the deck turned down. So right now it's at 1 second. I'm going to keep it at that. Next is clean feed. This is a really cool control to have over the microphone. And this controls whether or not the microphone feeds into the recording. If you were to record yourself, your set in Serato, if you turn on the recording and you got somebody talking on the mic, you don't want that. Maybe you just want the actual mixing because you want to be able to sell the mix later on or distribute the mix later on after a performance, and you don't want the voice of the MC to be in your mix. You can turn clean feed off, and a clean feed is without the microphone. If you don't want the clean feed, you can adjust it here. So if we back out of here, there's Notably, no settings for mic 2. You only have control over those settings for mic 1. Even though there is a second microphone on the Rane 70 mixer, you don't have control over it in here. Okay, so the next menu is the instant doubles menu. And when we go into here, you have a very simple control. You have, right now it says we're in the normal mode. Normal mode is the default mode of the instant doubles buttons, and they do exactly as the name implies. If you have a song playing here on this deck and you hit instant doubles, this deck starts spinning as well, playing the same exact song in the same exact position. It makes an instant double of what was on that deck onto that deck. Now, if you have a Rane 12 MK2, your mixer already has an instant double button already dedicated on its deck itself. And so you may not need to use the instant double buttons down here. Then there are some people that just don't like the instant doubles button. So you can disable it, or you can not disable it, but you can change its function so it does something different. And you do that simply by turning the knob, and you can move it. The first click that you turn it to brings you into sync mode. And this mode, this allows you to basically turn on sync. If you are a DJ, you probably know what sync is all about. And this is how you can map sync to your mixer. There's no sync button by default, but if you want to, you can swap out the instant doubles button by putting it into sync mode. And then from now on, when you want to use sync, you just hit shift and that button and the instant double button, it will sync. It will turn on sync when you do it that way. The next mode, if you turn, is silent queue. And silent queue is a feature that is, it's not really new, but it's relatively new over the past couple of years. It's where on in this mode, you can mute the deck until it's time for you want it to play. So the deck will be muted, and then once you hit a cue point, it'll start playing. So maybe the cue point, like in this song, the cue point is at the first part of the song. But now I'm going to put a cue point here in the middle of the song. So that cue point is at somewhere in the middle or near the end of the track. With this silent cue, I can just hit that. It mutes the deck. So even though the deck is spinning, you don't hear anything. There's no sound coming out until I hit a cue point, and then I can go back into silent cue, and I hit that button that mutes that deck again until I hit a cue point. So that's a really cool feature that you may really have to decide whether you like it or not. I think it is very useful, especially if you have routines where you need to have songs queued up and your deck spinning, but not necessarily playing music yet. You just want to have it silently queued up so it's there, and then you just hit that right cue point and that cuts it right back off. So that's I'm gonna have to think about that one, because I may actually use that a little bit more. But for now, I'm just gonna put it back to normal mode, because I do love the instant doubles buttons. I use them a lot. So let's tap out of that menu. Then down here you have your defaults. If we go into there, this will just restore the settings to the manufacturer's defaults. We don't want to do that, so let's just cancel out of that. And I think that's it for that section. So let's back out of the settings. And that was just the settings. So that's what I was saying earlier, that there's a lot that you can do. I'm not sure how long this video has been so far, but I know I've been talking for a good bit, and we've only gone into the settings adjustment. If you scroll down, you have cut-in adjustment. And this is another feature that a lot of people may really be interested in, because some people think the cut-in on these faders, they're like, oh, the Mag 4s, they're not all that great because the cut-in is at whatever, and they're not liking that cut-in adjustment. So you can go in here and into this menu, you can control the cut-in for deck 1, deck 2 for the up and down faders, then for your crossfader on the left or your crossfader on the right. So you can adjust the cut-in just the way on you have your controls on the front of the mixer, where you can control the contour of your cut-in, you have even more granular control in the menu, because you can go in here and you can change it for the left. Let me come down here, and on my crossfader on the left side, maybe I cut, well, for me, I would probably be adjusting it on the right side because I use this deck more frequently. But maybe that I'm having a problem with the adjustment, with the, not the adjustment, but with the cut-in. So I can come in here and I can make it a sharper or a more or a less sharper cut. So the number, as you go higher, that I look at the picture on here as the gap. The white is the gap. The higher your number is, the higher the cut-in is going to be. I want a sharp cut-in, so I'm going to bring mine probably to like, this would be extreme and I probably wouldn't like that, so let's just go here. You see, as I'm going at a higher number, the cut-in, you can't even hear it. But if I want to get it sharper, as I bring the number down, smaller and smaller. So let's pull up a scratch sound, and let's see. That will be able to really demonstrate it a little bit better if I pull up a scratch sound. My favorite sound. Let's see. Wrong track there. Oh, I'm in the wrong mode. So we got our crossfader on the left side. It's at 0. So that's the, now if we adjust that number to like 10, you hear it already. It's like I'm missing my cut. And I've got my controls up front as sharp as can be. I've got my tension to the right amount. But that 10 is not, it's too big of a gap. So you can adjust it, bring it down. And I'm going to keep it at 0. So that's a good thing. I'm glad I came into this menu. So now I'm going to do it the same thing for the left. Even though I don't cut that much on that side, I still, and you notice it was different. So on this side, remember the gap is the white. So you want a small gap, you want a small whiteness. So I bring that to 0. So adjust both of those. For me, I'm adjusting both of those to 0 so I can have that sharp cut. And you can do the same thing for your up faders. So if you are not really happy with the way the Mag 4s are working for you, maybe you need to adjust the cut-in, because by default it's not at 0. So adjust that and see how you like that. All right, so let's back out of that, the cut-in adjust. Then you have flex effects. You can go in here and change the parameters of your flex effects, which are these effects right here going across the top. So all 6 of these effects, you can go in and change different parameters. Like you have your beats, you can change your echo, reverb. Okay, so the beats is separate is something different. The beats is what type of echo, or what kind of parameters are you using for your echo out for your beat? Are you going to something simple where it just follows, it trails out, or you want to do something a little bit more extended where it really goes out? And then you can do, I'm not sure what no dotted means. We'll have to look into that. And then there's no triplet. So you can back out of that. Then if you go into the actual flex effects, you have echo, reverb, flanger, phaser, delay. You can go into those and you can change the parameters to where the beats are affected. It's a 1 beat for the delay. You can change that. You can go for your phaser, the kind of feedback that you're getting during the phaser when you're adjusting that. Go back out of that. Flanger has its own set of parameters, and et cetera, et cetera. So each of these effects that are built in, you can go in and you can change different parameters to get that echo to sound the way you want it to sound. You can do that for your flex effects. And you can also go down, when you come back out to the main menu, you can go in to do the same thing for your software effects. Well, you can do some editing of your software effects. Currently, my software effects show, well, let's jump out. Let's jump all the way out. Let's get into software effects. To get into software effects from the mixer, you hold shift and this button in here, the middle one. It's labeled flex effects on top and software on the bottom, but you hold shift and that's how you get into it. On mine, I have several, I have a few different effects in my per channel. You may not want that. Actually, something kind of weird is happening as I'm looking at the screen. Let's kind of zoom in and see. So this is not what I was expecting to see. Like, it looks like my effects are kind of, the screen is kind of mixed up a little bit. So let's jump out of that. Yeah, see, look. The screen, this is crazy that I'm capturing it right now. So the screen looks like it just kind of did, it's split in half. The top is on the bottom and the bottom is on the top. I knew that the effects looked weird when I went into that screen. Let's hit shift and go back in. Yeah, so I was supposed to see 1, 2, 3 different effects on each side. Instead, I see the bottom one up here on top and the top's on the bottom. Honestly, the only thing I know to do to make this not be this way is to just restart the mixer. Give it a couple of seconds, bring it back on. That was very weird. We get out, you get to see what it looks like when it boots up. All the buttons come on, oh, they light up. And here we are. So let's go back into Flex Effects. Oh, well, the software is still loading, so give it a second for the hardware to connect and library to load. Let's go in here. All right. All right, so now we're back on business. Okay. So I can, when I jump in my different effects, you see on the screen. If I jump back into this right here, I'm in the software effects, and you can see that there's the combo, the phaser, the flanger, and on this deck I have echo, phaser, and flanger. Now if I don't want to do that, I can go into my main menu, come down into my software effects, go into there, turn off multi-effects. Now let's go back into the main menu. Let's go back into main menu, echo. So let's go back into the menu. Software effects, multi-effects off, mix flex effects off, USB insert off. It's very odd. All right, so maybe it's not acting the way I thought it was supposed to act. So now this is where we go into the manual. Okay, I'm back. I was actually able to figure a couple of things out, but we are back again. This is so weird. This is like, I didn't even notice it. It happened because I just took a second to glance at the manual to confirm some things, and I came back and look, it's doing it again. The screen is cut in half. I've got half of, my list of effects on the bottom, and then up here, and you may have seen it just jump a second ago. And it always happens when I'm in my software effects. So let's go ahead and take some time. This is a tangent, but this is pretty cool that we're capturing it while it's happening. So the problem I'm having is, and if I go back to the main screen, I'll probably see it there. Okay. So this is not what it's supposed to be showing on the main screen. It's not supposed to be showing that at all. So let me turn off echo. This is what the main screen is looking like. The Rane logo is cut in half. What's on the bottom is supposed to be on the top, and what's on the top is supposed to be on the bottom. The only reason, or the only thing I know that happened in common with the first time and the second time is I was in my software effects mode. And I probably never noticed this before because I don't really use software effects. I prefer to use the hardware effects. But you see what happens. So let's try it again. Let's cut off the mixer and give it a few seconds. We'll turn it back on. And this is just interesting, and I'm not going to complain about this, but I am, just letting y'all see what's going on. So it's booted back up. We're at the main screen. Let's go into the main menu screen. Everything looks well. Everything looks normal as I go into the menus, back out. Everything looks good. All right. Let's try going into, the mixer was still booting up. Software was connecting within Serato. All right, so let's go into software effects. Let's pull that screen up. Right now, you have your combo filter, your phaser, and your flanger on this channel. Echo, phaser, flanger on this channel. You can go into the software and choose different effects. If you go into your effects panel, I can change it. For instance, let's make it delay. So the echo, delay, flanger there, and then put a little high pass filter there. So I did all that in the software. So combo filter, phaser, flanger. You have these three effects. So if we're in software, we can turn those on by hitting that, and that's stacking them. So you can stack all those effects. So this is a combination of the combo filter, the phaser, and the flanger all working. I can turn them off individually. Now if I want to go into the menu again, I can go into software effects, go in there, and you can turn that multi-effects option off. When you turn that multi-effects option off, go back into the main, and you want to use your effects, turn it on. You can only use one at a time because the multi-effects is off. So you can only use one effect at a time. If I go back into software effects and turn multi-effects on, tab back out, I can turn them all three on at the same time. So that's an interesting option to have within your settings. So let's go back into settings. I'm actually getting a lot better, or becoming more comfortable jumping in and out of the menus. Practice makes perfect, and I definitely recommend that you do this. If you want to get comfortable with making these adjustments and using your mixer, you got to practice jumping in and out of the options. And then as we go down, you have the option to check what version your firmware is on. Press into that. You can see I'm on 1.0.0.113. And I think that's the most current version for this mixer right now. I'll have to check to confirm. Then if I want to, I just tap back out of that. And the last option is to do a complete factory reset of the mixer, where you can just completely bring it back to the way it was when you bought it. But that's not what I'm here for. I'm actually here to customize, so I don't want to do a factory reset. But that is, I believe, all the menus that you can go into. Your settings, your software effects, your flex effects, your versions, and each of these, as you go up above, your settings have so many other sub menus you can go into it. So it's been a pretty long video, but I think we've been very thorough. We've gone in and seen everything that can be controlled from the settings here. I hope you have been able to find something that's been helpful, and if you have, don't forget to like and subscribe and share and comment, and let's keep the conversation going in the comments. Hopefully soon there'll be another video, maybe another tutorial, so we can actually deep dive back into the mixer and the software. There's a lot of good stuff that you can learn if you just read the manual, and I'm just going to go and just kind of dissect the manual and talk about all these interesting features of the hardware. And then we'll even do the same thing with the software as well. But I hope you found this enjoyable. Until next time, this is your boy Logistical Styles, and I am out.